Not that long ago, I made a video on everything wrong with Firebase C, and today I'm doing the complete opposite and doing everything that Firebase C did right. So one of the main things that everybody really loves about this map is that the setup process is not boring, it's actually very fun to do, because it meets halfway between just pressing a single button and then having to turn on like 16 different power switches and 3 different generators to do it. And it makes it overall fun because you're not having to do too much so that it gets boring and it's difficult to turn everything on, but it's also not just, hey, press this button and then you're kind of just set up. It meets in the middle and it's very nice and it's very enjoyable to set up on Firebase Z, which is one of the things that can make or break a map because the setup is the first thing you kind of experience. Another thing that people really like is that it caters to all players. So if you're a camper, you can just sit in weapons lab with a Reiki. If you like to train, you can train around the helipad. If you're a noob, you can kind of just exfil as soon as possible, and then if you're a pro, you can just stay on and grind through those rounds. And if you want to swap up your playstyle, it's very accessible to do so it makes it a lot more replayable because you're not stuck playing one playstyle, which is a lot better than everything else because everything's kind of even and it caters to every playstyle, so you can play however you want and still have fun. Now, the defense rounds were something that people were suspicious about due to Infection having something similar, where it's like the survivor rounds or the gas rounds where you're forced to do something. However, the defense rounds are very well implemented because they have their own round, which makes it a lot less tedious because you actually have something set for that round rather than having to do loads of stuff. So you just get to the area and then kill some zombies. It's not too dissimilar, it's just kind of, you get put into an area. It doesn't block you from going out of other areas, it just says, hey, you can kind of do this or just go and turn power back on. And it doesn't really cripple you if you do fail, it just kind of turns that area's power off, which isn't too difficult to turn back on. So if you're not experienced enough to manage to save the generator, it's fine, which overall makes it a lot more fun because the stakes are kind of high, but not high enough so that if you're failing, the game just ends. But it still makes for a very enjoyable round, which gives you a break from whatever strategy you're doing at that time, which overall makes it a lot more replayable because, again, you're not doing one thing for hours on end. Now, if you've had a look at Firebase C, you'll know how beautiful it is because the colour scheme is a lot better than a lot of maps. It almost feels similar to Shangri-La, where there's those bright colours, and there's also the modern areas inside the buildings, and it all goes together very well to form a very nice looking map. Firebase C has a lot more story, which long-time fans of the series are really enjoying because it's not just a bland slate where it's like, haha, character go burr. It actually has lots of depth and there's lots of character development, and we also have the introduction of Ravenov, so he adds to a lot of the dialogue that goes on between Weaver and the other character, which means there's a lot more dialogue to go through, and it doesn't get old very fast, so you can play it over and over again, and you still sometimes end up hearing new stuff so it doesn't get old, which, you guessed it, adds to replayability, which is the #1 thing here. A map's flow can make or break it because if you've got a bad flow, you're going to be just running over and over again with no way to shorten the path, so it's just going to take forever to get around the map, and it just makes it a little bit boring when you're just doing random things like running from side to side after you go down, which is not fun. And having a good map flow like Firebase C's, because Firebase C has a wonderful map flow because everything sort of fits together, and there are the jump pads to transport you from area to area. So if you don't want to have to run a million miles, just hop on the jump pad. And there's also the teleporter that takes you to the village, which is in the sort of central area of the Firebase, so you're not needing to run out to one side to get back to Pack Punch or the Wonder Fizz, which is very good because having a central area in the map with lots of stuff in it can be good, because then if you're at one point, you're not having to run too far, and running far is boring, and boring maps are not good because you just don't really care. Now, those were the main things that Firebase C did right. There are a couple that I haven't covered, but if you did enjoy this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and also comment down below what your favourite things about Firebase C is. Thank you for watching. This has been Jumping Robot, and I'll see everyone in the next video.